Okay, this is part 4 of our custom map tutorial, Onward custom map tutorial. In this part, we're going to add the fundamental components to play our scene in Onward so that we can start to finely tune some of the player experience, make sure we aren't shooting invisible walls and that things that you can shoot through should be shot through. We'll also walk around and explore the map from a player's perspective, looking for errors, gaps, issues like that. So let's get started. The very first thing we want to do as we engage our map, let's create some empty folders so that we can organize the rest of the project as we go. This is an important, important to keep your hierarchy organized as you go, especially if you're building a map from scratch. And so one of the problems I'm going to run into later is all these items that are in this custom scene that I downloaded and installed, they're not organized. And so when I go to do some of the optimization later, I'm going to be finding myself doing a lot of extra work sorting and sifting through these. So we're going to avoid that for Onward. So let's create some custom, or let's create some empty objects in our hierarchy that we can place everything in a nice organized fashion. First one I'm going to call Onward stuff. And then within that, I'm going to create my spawns. I'm also going to create one called game modes. Well, let's just start with that. So I have my spawns, my game modes, my Onward stuff. So, okay, if I pull up the guide, right off the bat, it's going to tell me I need 3 important prefabs added to the map. And if I check for errors, I'll find that it'll also require 2 game modes. There'll always be the free roam game mode and one other game mode just to be able to play your map, even though as you play in your headset from the PC, the only map option is free roam. It does require 2. So let's get started with that. So the very first item is adding the tent. I'm going to go to my Onward custom content, go to my prefabs, and I should find my tent. Let's drag that into our game Onward stuff. And let's locate where that was placed. We want to place the tent far below our map. That's what Onward recommends so that anybody in the tent cannot hear. Let's say you're playing, you just enter the tent and you're going to be joining a team. You don't want to hear that team while you're in the tent. So that's what they recommend. You can customize that tent. It's in the guide. I'm not going to be doing that for this or any tutorial. So better people than me make custom tents. All right, second thing we need to add is a map quad. So let's go ahead and drag our map quad onto the scene and then move that into our Onward stuff. Now the map quad is this pink cube that's surrounding our map, and we're going to make sure that it surrounds the entire perimeter of the map. So to do that, all we adjust is the size. Let's start with 180 here and see if that covers it. And we want to make sure that, you know, from a top-down perspective, that everything is covered in our map, including this little area here. And we'll come up here and make sure that's the same. We'll look over here and over here. So this will be the perspective that the players are going to get if they pull their map up while they're playing or while they're sitting in the tent waiting for the game to start, and they're strategizing about your really cool map and how they're gonna play it. So everything looks pretty good here. Even though I'm cut off over there, it's not the play area, so that's fine. All right, the last thing we need to add is, if we go back to our prefabs, is the level descriptor. I'm going to drag that into my Onward stuff. The level descriptor is used by Unity. It's going to come with an error right off the bat. You need to create the shared settings, and then you can double click those. This will allow you to set the title, which will be visible in Onward, as you publish, provide a story. Hey, the Volk just overran this sugar factory, and we need help from Marsoc, that kind of thing. And we need to select our scene. So this scene selection should match the scene that you're working on. In my case, map B2. And you can have two different scenes, one for PC, which is a higher quality scene, and one for Quest, which should have the limitations that Quest inherently has. All right, so we're getting close. The last thing we need to do is add a couple game modes. I'm going to check my scene for errors using the Onward check for errors. I'm expecting there to just be some game modes here. If you have anything else, you'll need to get those resolved. I think when I first ran this, there were some lighting issues, and the lighting needed to be baked. I'm going to review that real quick. So I pull up, if you have lighting that needs to be baked, I just pull up the lighting, found an example of the lighting, and sure enough, it was set to real time, and that would cause Onward to have an error. Let's take a look. Here, there it is. Point lights need to be baked. And so I just highlighted all of those and then selected baked, and then rechecked my scene for errors, made sure that they were gone. Now the only thing left is I need to add my game mode. So that's complete. If you've been following along, you may need to fix that in your map. So I'm going to exit out of my search here and get back to my game. All right, so now we have to add some game modes. I'm going to add those into the game mode folder. We're going to go to custom content, prefab, game modes, and this is where all the various game modes. We're going to go through each of these in various individual tutorials, one for each. Free roam and uplink are the two that I'm going to add for us to play. But I already know, as you'll find out real soon, that before I can do that, I need to create some spawn locations. Now, if I haven't mentioned it, you want to create a lot of spawn locations so that the player, as the players engage your map, they get a different experience. So, you know what? I'm going to make two new empties. One's going to be called attack, and the other one's going to be defend. They're going to be inside my spawn. If you add the spawn system directly to the map, it does a pretty good job of placing it onto the map correctly so that it's the height and everything's set. Let's take a look at that. So you'll see that if I raise this up, there's little blue lines, and right there. So those little blue lines mean that you're attaching correctly to the scene. And I'm going to move that spawn system into my attack. I'm going to rename that to attack. And then if you want to give it a number, that's fine. Sometimes I'll write down like a little mock version of my map, and then I'll write down attack 1, attack 2, attack 3, so that later on when I'm building my objectives and I'm trying to align spawn locations to objectives, I know where they are in the map based on a number. You can also just use a name like, right corner, things like that. That's up to you. One quick thing on spawns is they do come inherently with eight players, basically. You can increase that, and you can individually move them. So like if I wanted just one player over here just to be funny, I could. And as the player would spawn, one would be here, the rest would be there. I think we've all been spawned into separate rooms, things like that, so you understand that. You can also make more. So I'm going to copy and paste this. So I just made, number 8, number 9, 10, 11. So I just, all under this one spawn area, we have this many different places that the unit Onward's going to place the players. So So that's attack 1. And then for defend, we're going to do the same thing. Let's put the defend on this side. We're going to go down and drag in another spawn. We'll make sure it looks okay before we proceed. Looks good. And I'm going to drag that into the defend. And I'm going to rename that to defend 1. And so you're going to want to make a lot of these, and we'll do that later. But just to be able to play this map so that we can start to debug and fix meshes and the different things that's going to happen in our next series, we need to be able to play. We need those spawn locations. So those are going to be needed. Here we go. So let's go ahead and start adding our free roam. I'm going to go to prefabs, game modes, and drag free roam onto the map. Doesn't matter where you drag it. I'm going to move that into my game modes folder. And you'll notice that game modes over here in the inspector requires a defending team spawn and an attacking team spawn. Now, a couple ways to do that. One would be I can just drag from attack over into attack. It'll turn light gray, drop it in. I now have one. The other way to do that is I can click the add and then click the option, and it'll give me the list of all of the possible spawns that I've built in. In this case, I want defend 1, double click that. And so this one is set. And now we have free roam is set up with, we will spawn, if depending on if we're Marsoc or Volk, we'll spawn in one of these locations. The next thing we're going to add is uplink, because that's an easy one. And so I'm going to add uplink over here. Doesn't matter where it goes. I'm going to drag that into my game modes. And then uplink, as you can see, it requires an objective. Unlike free roam that had spawns, within the objective are going to be the spawns. That way, as you build an objective, you can uniquely tie spawn locations to that. And so you can put objectives all over the map and relate them to different spawn locations. So we're going to need an objective. Let's go to prefabs, objectives, and you'll see that there's an uplink objective. I'm going to drag that over here under the map. Let's just move it someplace there. Now, for this exercise, it doesn't matter. Now, once that objective's been, I'm going to move that into my game mode uplink folder, and then I'm going to select my uplink game mode, and then grab my objective and drag it into my objective. Now, the alternative is I could just click this and all my objectives would show up. So those are the two ways of doing that. Now, within my objective, now I have my spawns. And this all makes sense because if my objective's over here, you may want to have spawns over there. But if I have an objective over here, I may want to have spawns over here. So each objective requires its own set. And all I need to do is add those. I'm going to go ahead and just hit the plus sign and add them. That's the defending. And hit the plus sign, and that's the attacking. So now I have spawns. I have everything set. I'm going to check my scene for errors. No errors have been found, which means I'm ready to go. I can now play this in my VR headset. I'm going to go to Onward Launcher. It's going to prompt me with, well, what kind of platform am I using, Quest or PC? I'm using my Quest via PC, so PC is my choice. If you have only have Quest, meaning if you only have Onward purchased in your Quest, you'll need to use the Quest option. The instructions to do that are in the content guide. I'm not going to go through them. Most people building maps are going to have the PC version, because you're going to need the PC to do all this anyway, so my assumption is you have the PC. Once you select that, hit build. It says, yes, would you like to save it? Absolutely. And then the progress bar is going to start. I'm going to end this video. Well, I'm going to pause the video while this is building. It's going to take about 10 minutes. I'll be right back, and we'll walk through getting loaded into our headset. Okay, at this point, you should have a message saying success. The map should be locally available. And so we're going to jump on into our headset and get Steam Link started. All right, Onward's logging in. Once inside, there's only one play mode that's going to work. You got to go to single player, then to free roam, change your map to custom map, and you'll see the Unity export option. If you do not see that, something went wrong with the prior steps. Select that. Onward's going to load up your map and take you to your tent. I'm going to select Marsoc. Select the loadout. I use the anything with a large amount of ammunition. A lot of what I'm going to do is just shooting and making sure that all the bullets are hitting solid objects and not hitting the air. So I usually play around with a large gun. So here we are. We're in our map now. As promised, we spawned. It looks like we spawned in that one area. Let me grab my gun, and we are ready to go.